The mum of a Scottish war hero who was killed in action in Afghanistan has blasted US President Donald Trump over his suggestion America's allies stayed away from the front lines.
We get along very well with NATO, I think, but I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test, and I'm not sure of that. I know that we would have been there, or we would be there, but will they be there? And let's hope that that never happens. We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines. But we've been very good to Europe and to many other countries.
Lance Corporal Liam Tasker was just 26 when he was shot dead by a sniper while on patrol in Helmand Province in March 2011. The Fife soldier had made 14 significant finds of weapons and bombs around the notorious region with the help of his force's dog, Theo. His mum, Jane Duffy, said she was absolutely horrified by Mr. Trump's comments.
I'm Jane Duffy. I'm the mother of Liam Tasker. He was the 358th soldier to be killed in Afghanistan. I'm just absolutely horrified about the comments that Donald Trump has made about soldiers not being on the front line. Has he not looked at the statistics and how many soldiers that were actually killed? I think it's 466 British soldiers that were killed in Afghan up to date. That's not including all the ones from other NATO countries. I really feel he needs to apologise to everybody.
I mean, what was it your son did in Afghanistan?
He was a dog handler on the front line. Him and his dog held the record for finding most IEDs in Afghanistan. It's not just Liam and Theo. There's loads of his friends been out in the front line and suffer PTSD and everything.
And what's the general reaction of the community of the armed forces in general? I mean, how are people feeling?
I think everybody's in disbelief because they went out there after 9/11 to support and help the American troops, and now he's saying that they weren't on the front line. They were out there for 20 years. They were out there at the end as well, helping when they were clearing up.
You know, obviously this is your son Liam's graveside. I mean, how often do you come here?
Well, I used to come every day, but then it got too much for me, so I come nearly once a week now. I come up.
Yeah, and this is obviously, it must be a very upsetting time for you, hearing what Donald Trump has said.
Well, yeah, not just me, but all the bereaved families and the soldiers that have been injured in the conflict and everything. It's like they've just been brushed aside.
The UK suffered the second highest number of military deaths, 457, in the Afghanistan conflict, behind America, which saw 2,461 deaths. In total, America's allies suffered 1,160 deaths in the conflict, around a third of the total coalition deaths. The US president's remarks drew condemnation from across the political spectrum.
It's complete nonsense. It is complete nonsense. I spoke to parents of young men who had lost their lives in Afghanistan, and I think it is a disgrace to denigrate their memory like that. Every November, we celebrate our fallen. It's not just World War I or World War II. It is more recent conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think that there is too much careless talk from President Trump. He clearly doesn't know the history of what happened. I'm somebody who believes in NATO. It is a force for good in the world. We need a strong NATO. We mustn't have these sorts of throwaway remarks that actually weaken the strong relationship between those countries in the alliance.
He is completely wrong to criticise a contribution that Britain and some of the other NATO allies made in Afghanistan. And we need to also remember it's not just those killed in action and the massive impact on the families they left behind, but the thousands of NATO troops who were injured. This country alone, 3,000 plus serious combat injuries as a result of being wounded on the battlefield. Well, my first reaction was I do have sympathy for the fact he has been critical about the chronic underinvestment of the UK and other Western European nations in NATO. But what I have absolutely no sympathy for, and I think were really unfortunate, inaccurate, and totally unjustified remarks, were about the contribution of British and other NATO nations fighting on the front line in Afghanistan, which they absolutely did. And he's completely wrong on that. And my message to Donald Trump would be, look, you need to turn around and say, these were unfortunate remarks. I didn't mean to denigrate the contribution that certainly the United Kingdom has made to the United States fighting on operations in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, and other theatres. But perhaps he could also value that contribution of saying it was a brigade continuously for over a decade in Afghanistan. It was a division in Iraq. And that's the sort of contribution we need to see going forward, and use that as a recognition of the previous commitment and the bravery and all the courage that has been shown by British troops and other NATO nations fighting alongside the Americans.
Well, Trump's comments are appalling, and they're insulting to all those British veterans, the soldiers who lost their lives, the soldiers who came back with life-changing injuries, and all their families and friends. But people know I've regularly criticised Donald Trump for so much, and I question his character. But I also question the character of British politicians who've been supporting Donald Trump. Nigel Farage called him the bravest man he'd ever met, a man who's dodged military service 5 times. I think Nigel Farage's character is on the line, along with Donald Trump's.